Let's welcome our line opinion panelists one final time to talk about oil and gas leasing on public lands opening back up. Leasing public lands for extraction had been put on hold by the Biden administration, but after 13 states filed an injunction to end that moratorium, a judge sided with those states. New Mexico is not part of the complaint, but more than 520 acres in our state are set to be auctioned off. President Biden also directed the Department of the Interior to review the federal oil and gas program. We'll get to that in a moment. But first, with a wide brush, with only 13 states requesting a change, Senator Feldman, is the federal government letting states like New Mexico down here?
Well, I think so. I think that the pressure to do so was tremendous, however.
Right. Yeah.
And so the court settlement said that you had to open up leasing again. And we, of course, are lucky because we have the caveat that the oil and gas leasing cannot be done within a 10-mile buffer zone surrounding Chaco Canyon. Mm-hmm. But oil and gas leasing is resuming, most notably in southeast New Mexico. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't mean that drilling will begin, though. I think that the lands will just be locked up so that drilling can happen when the market favors it. And of course, the market is beginning to favor it. But in the meantime, any conservation efforts, any plans for that area will be stymied by the fact that this won't happen now because the land is kind of locked up. Mm-hmm. For that purpose. So in that sense, yeah, I'm disappointed that it's resuming, but I certainly understand the pressure to do so.
Sure. Just a quick note on where Senator Feldman was talking. One of the sites in Chaves County between Artesia and Roswell, in 4 sites in Lee County, further east of the Texas border, and 10-year leases will be issued to the bidder. Now, Ed, some of the specifics in that review from the Interior Department, it says the program, quote, fails to provide a fair return to taxpayers, inadequately accounts for environmental harms, fosters speculation by oil and gas companies, as we just heard, and leaves communities out of important conversations, end quote. Despite all that, leasing is back on. At what point should all of this be taken into consideration?
Well, the moderate view is, and I do understand both sides of this argument on the fringes, mm-hmm. is the environmentalists are very, very concerned about the environmental damage, the emissions, our carbon footprint, and the oil industry is very much concerned about the regulatory issues associated with drilling, which has caused some of them to stop drilling. Of course, current economic conditions, the need for greater oil production, has created this need for more drilling, and so both sides, the issues on both sides need to be looked at. But it seems like the middle ground mm-hmm. is let's continue to allow these leases to take place and the option to drill, but let's take into consideration the needs and the concerns of the environmentalists who have been fighting for a reduction of these greenhouse gases and emissions caused by oil use and drilling. And so, yeah, I think they have a valid point that with these leases, locking up these lands, that those issues of concern are addressed. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, we're just taking a step back.
That's right. Senator Feldman, we got to bring it up. It's our own Secretary of the Interior, New Mexico's own Deb Haaland, of course. She's speaking up on this too, saying the federal government has overlooked the priorities of tribal communities who, as Ed mentioned, who see the most consequences from pollution. And Ms. Haaland has said she's ready to start those conversations about those consequences of drilling. Is she right?
Yes, mm-hmm. She is right. And I think there are public hearings that are going to be held around the state mm-hmm. On the conditions under which the leasing will occur. And this report has got a lot of good things in it that will address some of the community concerns mm-hmm. and will also address a very antiquated system in which royalties in New Mexico lagged far behind Texas and other states. So in this resumption of drilling and leasing, rather, there will be an increase in the royalties paid from 12.5% to 18.75%, which brings us up to other states. But I think people need to weigh in. They need to read that report if they can and testify. I know there's one hearing in Farmington, and I assume that there are others around the state, because these are community impacts, methane emissions, disruption of the landscape, essentially, with roads and all kinds, and water depletion that happen around these drilling sites.
You know, interesting, kind of chuckling, we mentioned the royalty rates. That rate was set in 1920. I mean, it's like, how do we get this far to this point? We're just kind of getting to this. Senator Snyder, the Department of Interior, going to stay with that for a second. Going back to the Chaco Canyon point made by Senator Feldman a second ago, they're going to start taking comments about the situation, the proposed withdrawal from Chaco Canyon, protecting some 350,000 acres of federal land from future oil and gas leasing for a period of 20 years. I'm interested in the shape of that conversation. It's a cherished part of our New Mexico thing. And I know a lot of people are just flat out disgusted it's even under discussion at all, that it just should be just completely off the table. Should Chaco be completely off the table from oil and gas exploration?
Personally, I think we should give serious thought to that.
Okay.
Because it's just like I'm very into looking at old homes and particularly those that were built during Revolutionary War times and before the Civil War. How many are still left? How many have been destroyed? And once you destroy it, you don't get it back.
Right.
So I think when you're talking about a treasure, and to me, this is not just a New Mexico treasure, this is a national treasure. Fact is international. However, I grew up in an oil and gas family, so I tend to lean toward them and have such respect for them. The thing that for me that comes to this, and there hasn't been any mention of it that I've seen, is the bigger picture. Look at what Russia is doing to other countries, cutting off their supply. We're in the United States is buying oil from Saudi Arabia, and yet we're stopping the drilling and the purchasing of oil and gas here in our own country.
Are we a net positive exporter of oil at this point?
Right. No, we're not. We were.
Okay.
And the biggest and the thing that it leads into is that is also holding some countries back a little, increasing their cautiousness because they get their oil and gas, their energy from Russia. Germany gets, and Angela Merkel signed, and I remember this discussion, it was a national discussion between her and President Trump, is that they bought all their energy from Russia. When your people are depending on that, that does color your thinking about taking on the big guy. The second thing is we produce LTG, LNG, which is liquid natural gas.
Right.
And that can be shipped we don't have to have an underground pipeline. We can ship it in tankers to Europe. The United States could be supplying oil and gas and energy to most of Europe at this time. So it's not just here in New Mexico. I mean, you look at Louisiana, western Louisiana has so much oil and gas coming out of there. So when we change what our state's doing or what the federal level is doing, we're impacting the world.
That's a good point.
Not just Mexico.
I have to say thanks again to our line panel. As always, great subjects, great discussion this week. Now, be sure to let us know what you think about any of the topics covered on our Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram pages.